in, everybody. How's it going? I was not paying attention because we were backstage, and I can see everybody backstage, and Rod was just like getting it to the music back there, so he distracted
I always
me.
wondered if you actually could see that, and now it's good to know that you can. I didn't know that.
Anyway, welcome in, everybody. We got a fun one tonight. As you can see, we have a fourth joining us, a friend of the channel, I'd say for certain, Todd. So Todd, first of all, thanks for jumping on here. I appreciate it.
Hey, my pleasure. I'm excited to be here.
I hope you guys all appreciated the thumbnail for this one. Did you get to see it yet, Todd?
I think I did. I did. Yes.
It's like the big version of you standing behind me. It's pretty good. Anyway, it was a Graham Stephan inspired thumbnail. So anyway, welcome in, everybody. What we're going to do for the first like 30 minutes or so is just, I'm going to ask Todd some questions. I want him to share his story. My intro of Todd is that I thought I've been in real estate media a while. I've been doing it 12 years. Todd has me beat by like 8 years. He's built an incredible business, much larger than my business, Norman and Young. If you've ever had any, chance to listen to the Spiro podcast, which he is the co-host of, he's the founder of Spiro as well, which you can see behind him. It's the software that we love and recommend for real estate media companies to manage their business. So he's got a lot going on. He's super familiar with this industry. He's not only spent a lot of time building a very successful real estate media business, Wow Video Tours, but he also gets to help people by building Spiro. So he knows the challenges and pain points that real estate photographers have. We're lucky enough to have him do a weekly call in our community as well as a guest coach. So if you ask good questions, you will get great answers from someone who knows this industry a lot better than I do. And so, yeah, that's my intro for you, Todd. If you wouldn't mind just kind of like give the, overview of your business and that kind of thing, we'll jump in.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. It's great to be here with everybody today. I almost feel like I started the debate. Like I went into, y'all watched the VP. I'm not talking politics. I almost felt like I had to take an inspiration from this presidential debate. But anyways, it's great to be here. And so I started in this business, like Eli said, 20 years ago. And that was back in the times of black and white. And there was not something as real estate photography. Well, there was. It was realtors would go out and they would take pictures of listings that they got. And the cameras back in that time, it was a big Sony Mavic camera that had a 3.5-inch floppy in it. And I didn't even want to do real estate photography at the time. It was an idea that was sitting right in front of me, but I was into video and I had this desire to want to create videos. And of course, like many of you can probably relate, when you start with something, it's new. The world is literally at your fingertips and you have this skill that you enjoy and you learn this skill and you get better at this skill. And then probably the reason why most of us are in here, we want to make money with that skill, right? This was a long time. Like I started off in first grade as a fifth grader. I made friendship bracelets on the bus. And if you've heard this story before, I apologize, but it's a good one. The only reason why I can make friendship bracelets as a 5-year-old little boy is because I was actually at 5 years old, just as big as the fifth graders on the bus. I'm fairly large. So no, like I didn't get beat up. It was unbelievable, but I made friendship bracelets. And then there's a whole host of things that I did from there throughout my career of selling something. So naturally I got into video production. I'm like, okay, who can I sell this thing to? And of course we all go and we do weddings, right? And then we try to get corporate events, but I was 18 years old. Who knows what corporate is happening at that time. And long story short, my parents went to go sell their house and I learned a little bit about the real estate process and that helped me understand where there were some gaps at. And a gap that I identified was the fact that you actually have to drive to all the houses to look at them. And I thought, hey, there's just got to be a better way. So I took the camera and I panned room. Well, no, I actually put it on a tripod, a Bogan tripod, a big camera. And I walked the house. And it was literally the worst tour ever. I wish I could find it just so I can make fun of myself and show it to everyone. And that got me going and I had something. And from there, we showed as many people. We actually didn't do a real estate photography until about 3 or 4 years later. And then I really focused on in some of the turning point, and we can get there, but I wanted to grow the business. I became the idea of creating with the camera, it changed into creating with the business. And I kind of got addicted to it. Like, how can I now grow this thing? The camera, the real estate photography, videography was just the medium. It was the avenue we were going to learn. But I saw there was a bigger picture of understanding. That was like the tip of the iceberg. Understanding what was underneath the water was the idea of where are the levers, where are the gears of the business? And now how can I do this as many times as humanly possible, build the correct team around me, and then replace myself with the team and not have to do anything.
So how long, I mean, I would imagine when you first started your business, you had no idea you were going to grow it to the level it's at today. Was there a point where you realized you could scale it? And if so, like how far in was that, or was it pretty consistent?
Yeah, it's a great question. I love the what if game. So I was always doing the math. You know, I was 2 years in school. So the first 2 years of my business, I was in college. I was finishing up college. And, you know, I'd always do the game of, I think I charged $75 for video back then. So I'd go, okay, $75. How many times can I do this a week? Okay, this is this many agents. What if I get 10X agents? And then how can I do that this many times per year? And we all have done it, right? You hit enter on your calculator. And at, you know, 20 years old, like, oh, that's 125,000. Like that's, so I think I always knew there was potential in doing it. And my philosophy, I always wanted to do something. I'm fascinated with the idea of how can I do something and streamline it and do it as many times as possible. And real estate fit really well because it was reoccurring. Because agents, you build relationships with agents. Those agents get listings and they continue to get listings as long as they're a real estate agent. And getting a listing actually means you're growing. Like that's what agents want. And so you build with the correct agents. So I don't know that I actually really knew the full potential. I just knew there was something there. And it was even interesting. I prepared some numbers for us all to look at today, but even looking back, I was like, holy cow, like we grew 60% that year. Sometimes I didn't realize it because you just go, you know, you put blinders on and sometimes that's bad and sometimes that's good because the blinders are like, hey, I'm going to keep going. Like these 5 things are terrible right now, but I know there's something on the other side of that. And I either need to figure it out, have someone help me figure it out, or bring a team in that can help me figure it out. And you do a combination of those things. So, yeah, I mean, I think from the start is my very long answer of answering the question.
Interesting. Everybody has a different path with that for certain too. I think it's funny because we get to work with 2 different types of people generally. Like one, they're just very excited to make a living for themselves doing this. And the second person like wants to scale from the start. I don't know that there's a big difference in success. I think it's like the big thing, and you know, maybe speak to this a little bit. You've been very consistent for a long period of time. And I'm sure it ebbed and flowed. There was times where you're working harder on the business and times where you're working on other stuff. But how much of your success today would you say you'd attribute to just sheer like doing the work versus the other stuff?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would attribute a lot of it. Our core value number 2 for us is about hard work. I always say if it was easy, everybody would do it. And again, another one I love is simple, not easy. There's some very simple things that we can all do. They're not always easy though, right? How many of you dialed the number, you have the agent list in front of you, or you have Zillow in front of you, you dial the number, and how many of you hung it up and put the phone down? You're like, you're hoping a distraction. You hope an email comes up that I'm
going to go build my website.
Exactly. Yes. Oh yeah. Exactly, Kenny. I got to redo my website. I've done it 10 times, but I'm going to do it on the 11th because I just think now is the right time. Mm-hmm. So I'm making fun of myself, not any of you, because I've done it. I've had cold feet plenty of times. And there's sometimes where you just have to push through and you have to say, the best decision is the right decision. The second best decision is the wrong decision. But the worst decision is no decision or no action. So there's that we all have it. And as I started to learn about the brain and kind of had a coach tell me more about the way we think, it's like, that's natural. I'm like, okay, that's natural. So I'm just going to suppress that. I'm going to make the call. Oh, the world didn't end. The realtor was actually nice to me.
So just for fun and for context, I guess, tell us a little bit about Wow Video Tours last couple of years. How many, roughly how many shoots per year? Because that's a fun number for me to think about because it breaks my mind. It's a lot of shoots.
Yeah. So we did, 2 years ago, we did just at 12,000 shoots. last year it tipped down a little bit, and this year we're hoping to hit 13,000.
Gosh, dude,
So-
just do the math for fun, everybody. And I just already want to do it. I've done it like 10 times, but divide it by the amount of business days in a year. It's a lot of shoots per day. So obviously you're not doing those shoots yourself.
Correct.
Because it's like, I mean, what's a busy day? Like it's got to be more than 50 shoots, right?
Yeah, busy days. I mean, a busy day is 100.
Kenny couldn't even contain himself hearing that number.
Yeah, it's like 50, right?
Yeah, he's like no, that's a normal day. So it's obviously not just you doing that. It's impossible. You have a great team. For people out there that are just starting to build their team, I know there's multiple of them. I just know the people in the comments here. They're working on that. Any advice to like Todd with 2 team members that Todd with, more than 20 knows now?
Yeah, good question. So invest in good people around you. I started, and the first thing I did as I went, oh, holy crap, I need to hire somebody because I physically can't do it. Like my wife was pregnant, I'm still editing. I'm falling asleep with my head. You're waking up at 2 a.m. Cindy's pictures are on the computer and you're like, oh no, I got to go shoot tomorrow. I got to leave at 6 a.m. because I'm an hour and a half away. And you're managing all of these things. And I'm like, well, how am I going to hire someone? And so then the whole idea of like, hey, is it a contractor? Is it an employee? That's a very simple thing. It's not difficult to have employees. Just go find someone that can educate you and tell you, hey, this is all you need to do. It's really not that difficult. Now, this is not for this conversation, but making sure that you're a good boss to those employees and you set expectations and they know what they're supposed to do is a whole different game that I screwed up plenty. But making sure you put good help around you. I was very fortunate and very blessed to have a couple close people to me help me and stayed with me for a very long time, and had really good people and people that wanted to help me and saw the potential in the business and had the same excitement for it as me. I don't think you can't spend money wrong if you're hiring good people. And now you're almost set up as a little bit of a disadvantage. If you've hired 2 people, you don't know necessarily how to hire a really good person. I'm speaking generally here. I didn't know how to do it. Okay, so go find someone who's hired a ton of people and have them interview with you. So that would probably be the one thing I would do is just understand that hiring process and spend a little bit more to get good people, invest. Because if you don't invest, those people are going to turn over. You owe it to them, really. Like they're on your staff. And I didn't feel this for the longest time. Like you owe it to make sure they're successful at your company. I think I kind of came in the wrong way and thought I'm giving them something. No way. Like they're giving you something. Remember, at the end of the day, you own the place. They're just trying to reach the goals of their life. They don't own the building. Like I always walk out of here and we still have a physical location, and I'm humbled. Like when people are in here working hard on things and I'm going out because I have to get to my kids, or it's just like, I'm humbled because it's like they care about it so much, or they're after hours or whatever it may be. And they don't own it. Like there's always an you're always incentivized to go above and beyond, right? At the end of the day, it's your thing. You have an asset. So, the Todd with, 30 photographers and a team of about 16 and plus a large team of virtual assistants would say, just learn how to find good people that are going to help you achieve your goals.
That's really good. It's a hard thing to do, like you said, when you're first starting, because you just don't have the context for what is. But you said something I want to have you talk more about. Find somebody that's done it. So you've talked a lot about different coaches that you've had that have helped you. And I think that's a big part of finding the right team, is finding the team maybe that's not your staff, but you still know who to ask. So I guess, do you have any big lessons that stand out? I know let me ask this question first. Did you always find coaches, or did you realize at a certain point, or what was that for you?
Yeah, good question. I didn't always find coaches because we live in a generation where it's like we have the assumption that we can go find anything on the internet. And I love to go find things on the internet. I have to catch myself sometimes. Like, wait a minute, you are so far down a hole, Todd. You are wasting more time than anything you're going to gain. And so then naturally I'd go out, and the first coach I talk to, they all talk to you, which is great. And they say some things like, wow, I never thought of that. And then you see what a coach is going to charge. And for me, I was like, oh, hold it. Like, whoa, okay. I was like, that's a little sticker shock. And I remember some of them, in fact, Shannon, who is our VP of product at Spiro, and she helped me scale wow. She was on the podcast last week. She reminded me that she came on as a consultant for WOW at the beginning of her time here. She sent me the proposal, and I was like, okay, Shannon, that's cool. Great. Let's do it. And then I got cold feet. I actually texted her, and I was like, oh, Shannon, I can't do this. Like, I don't think the money, yada, yada, yada. And I was so in just a hamster wheel of left brain cycles. And she's like, no. And it wasn't that she was trying to sell me. It's just the fact that she was trying to confirm that this is the right way for me to go. And, if I look at some of these numbers here, the year after we brought her on, we then grew 60%, 67%, 58% to $1 million. Then we grew another 34% to $1.5 million, 26% the next year to almost $2 million. And then from there, it took a couple years to get to $3 million. So, and I had a couple other coaches along the way, but if you can find a way to expand your knowledge, it's like, you don't want things to become easier. You want to become better. Right? And a coach, that's not a me thing. So I'm not claiming that, but I'm not claiming that phrase, but it always stuck with me. Like, we as humans always like, oh, I wish it was easier. It's like, no, wait a minute. Let's just wish you were better. I wish I was better. There's things that happen. I'm like, okay, that's the cost of education. And I just take it. I use these phrases because it keeps thinking high. And it's like, okay, we just lost some money there. Like, I'll tell you, even to this day, we did not bill some agents and quite a few agents for a monthly marketing program we do for them. We ate $15,000. Okay, it was like, I mean, that's a lot of money. 15,000. That's real money to anybody. Like, that's a lot of money to me. Like, it should have gone to my kids' college education. But I was like, okay, all right, that's the cost of education. This is what it is. We know there's a gap. Let's not let that add up to 10 years of that and 150 grand. We just spent 15K to learn this issue, and we know how to fix it. It's super simple. So great, we can move forward with it. So education can be many different ways. I'm a firm proponent in it. I think you need to spend time on yourself and your education. It can be many different ways. And it's good to change those ways because you're going to get a little bit different from everyone.
That's really good. The different from everyone thing, I think, is key because sometimes it's easy to get fixated on, like, I just got to learn everything from this one person. But if you think about it, like, the person you're learning from, they didn't learn everything from one person. Like, the most like knowledgeable people and the people I like to learn from the most have it. And if you think about it too, when you build a team, that's really what you're doing in your own company, right? The value is from the perspective. Now, sometimes the value is people getting work done, but especially as the company grows, like, just having that, brain trust or whatever you want to call it's really good. And you can kind of like borrow that from somebody. Sure. And coaches look different. There's different ways to do that. There's like traditional like coaching program, like we have at REPP, but there's coaches you'll just know in life, people that have done things that you want to learn. And seeking those out, I think, is what you're saying is really important. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's look at the comments a little bit. I want
to ask Todd something, actually. Just going back to like the beginning days, I know you mentioned that you just kind of put blinders on and you were just getting to work. It seems like you had a very hard upcoming, I guess, to where you're at right now. Because like I was just trying to think if I was in your position, I'd be like, holy crap! I mean, like, wife's pregnant, wife's having a baby, having to work. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Were there any nights or days that you're just like, I just want to give up and go the traditional route? Or like, I don't know. I think it's always interesting asking somebody who's like at your position right now. You're just like, okay, what were your thoughts back then? Because I'm sure some people think that. And I would love to get your perspective on that.
Yeah, thanks for that, Kenny. There were definitely days that you're second guessing yourself, and you're like, oh, what? And we all start to feel sorry for ourselves, right? And you're like, oh, wouldn't it just be great if I could get a job doing this? And I had a 9-to-5, and I have had those thoughts. And there's just something about that thought that I try to push it out of my brain because it's like, I don't want to begin feeling sorry for myself. And I've been fortunate enough that I had a lot of momentum going, and there's some tough times, and I'll be transparent with everyone. Last year was a very tough year for us at WOW, and it ended up all good, but we had some very serious conversations, and I relied a ton on my team, and they made some very tough decisions, and we worked our butts off to get to 20-some% growth this year. And there was days that's like, oh, this is, wouldn't it just be great to not have that? And then I think it's the grass is always greener, an Eli phrase that I love is the term thought error. That's just a thought error. We always want something as humans, our human brain always wants to simplify everything, always wants to take the easiest path. And sometimes it's just wrong. That's actually not the easiest path, because you don't understand you would have these restrictions with the job, or you couldn't do what you'd want to do. So yeah, very natural, Kenny. And I've had those in the past. And that's when it's important to make sure you have a team around you that stays positive. And when I think back over the years here at WOW, I've been blessed to have a really great team. And we have had some people that have been great, but I didn't realize that their thinking was below the line. And they kind of just swayed towards that. And then them swaying in a negative fashion made other people jump on board. And then all of a sudden you have this bandwagon that's a negative thinking. And that's how you have a culture problem. But when you don't have that, and I'm so blessed to have the team that we have now is the best team we've ever had. And having that positivity, even when bad things happen, it's just like, one is the way to live. Like, why be sad about it? What's that going to get you doom and gloom? Like, let's be positive. Let's pull it up, pull together, and let's push through.
That's a good question. And we joke on our team sometimes when we have a hard day. I think it's important to like give yourself the chance to just think about, like for most people sitting here that are starting to scale, you will probably tell yourself more than once, I should just go back to being solo. Mm-hmm. You'll think that. And doing that, I would argue, is probably a mistake for you, but just enjoying the 10-minute thought of it gives you a little bit of peace. So we have a joke. Kenny's laughing because he knows what it is. We just picture me, Kenny, Jared, and Aaron just working at a coffee shop. Imagine if we just worked at a coffee shop together. It'd be so much easier. And so I think like letting yourself a little bit go, you just think about it, and then you realize, you come to your senses, and you're like, okay, we got to push forward. Because every level, working at a coffee shop is a tough life too. You don't make very much money. You have to, you're getting there early in the morning. It's like you said, Todd, it's a grass is always greener thing.
I will say on our toughest times, I think I have the most fun because I don't know the quote, and I'm going to butcher it if I try saying, but basically like you prosper when it's slow. I don't know. Say the quote, Eli.
I think it's the Tony Robbins one. When you win, you party, and when you fail, you ponder, and all greatness comes from pondering. Yeah, because like then when the toughest times, like we're doing a ton of work, and I think it's fun. It's fun for me at least. I know Rod has fun, you have fun. I'm sure Todd does too. And so I don't know. That's just my opinion. It's like we have the funnest time when we have the toughest times too. You have a split second of like, I hate this. Yes, and you immediately like the longer I've noticed that people are in business, the shorter period of the time where they're just sitting there dwelling on it, like this sucks. Immediately action, that time frame shortens, which is good. Because like you definitely don't hate it when you have you don't love it when you have a slow, of course not, right? Yeah. But then just like you were saying, Todd, last year was slow with WOW. Last month was a little slow at REPP. And like I feel like, Rod, you can attest to this. We've been working together. We did so much stuff to build for the future that's going to be so good. And it was like, do I want that slow month to happen? No, but without that slow month, it doesn't catalyze like you got to go do this. So I think those are important. Those times are it's something you have to have. So, okay, let's do this. If you have a question, what's
sports? And like the teams like do well, then they get a humbling loss. Coaches say that's when the best lessons are learned after those losses, and that's when the true test begins after those losses, and then that's when you find out and discover a lot that can help the next month. They're needed. Without them, it can't like mathematically you can't improve if those months don't happen. If you look at it that way. So
you build sloppy business too, because you never have the month that makes you go, what am I? It's like a refinement. You go up and you go down a little refine, you go up and you go down. And sometimes the down isn't always just down, but sometimes it's, hey, we didn't double again this year. Like you can use those times. You don't have to like have a loss, but from my perspective, like the longer you go without time to do that, the more risk you have of having a loss so great you don't come back from it. And so like having those little like foundation building times where you like take a step back, I think is really good. I'm sure we'll ask a couple more questions in a second. While we're doing those, if you have a question you want to ask Todd in the comments, drop it in there. If you ask him about camera settings, aperture, anything related to photos, I'm going to ignore your question. It's not because I don't like you. It's because Todd has built an incredible business, and that would be such a waste of the time we have here. So said with all love, don't ask a question about that. I think Todd's going to be able to give a lot of wisdom on any topic, but if you're talking about scaling and growing a team, those questions are going to be the ones that are thoughtful to ask. So with those frameworks, what questions do you have? I know we have a handful in here that are scaling. So that's cool. Rod, Kenny, anything you want to ask Todd in the interim? If not, I have something, but.
You had a lot of good questions that were a lot of mine. I mean, the one I keep thinking in my head, and I don't even know if it's a good question to ask, is it might be hard to answer. But like the things you learned at each phase, like what was the best lesson, or like the thing you learned or wish you would have known or whatever at when you first started? I know that's, a bit ago, was like a couple decades ago, right? And then at the $5,000, the $10,000, but then the $50,000 month and the $100,000 month.
You're gonna have to round it to bigger numbers. I guarantee you he doesn't remember $5,000 to $10,000 has been.
What was your $4,000 month like 20 years ago, Todd? But no, let's break it down to the very beginning. Just the lessons you learned in the beginning that you might remember, then just as you started scaling it to a $50,000 month and then 6 figures, months, those 3 phases, like anything that you remember that you learned that you wish you would have known at the time.
Yeah, I'd love to. So the first phase was getting from this is an idea and could this be viable to this is what I'm going to do. So kind of like that all-in moment. And that was right between me graduating from college in 2006 and saying, okay, I just spent all of this money on this degree and I'm not going to pursue that degree. That's a very comfortable and a good degree. And I could have achieved my goals and had a great life doing that career. I'm going to focus on this thing of mine, this little baby. And I was excited about it. And it was that moment where it's like, okay, I'm going to go all in on it. And I had focus at that time. I don't know that I understood it. I was more determined that I wanted to make it work, and probably just as stupid as determined, of like ignoring some things and just knowing that this is going to work. And sometimes you just need to do that. So that was the first phase of like going all in. And then you're in this hustling phase. And I was coming up with things. I was lucky enough to stumble into this idea of what a broker deal was back in 2006. And I signed 3 of them in the next about year and a half. And I was fortunate to do that. And that gave me a foundation. And I am the type of personality that a lack of money is kind of debilitating to me. And I think, Eli, we're the same, where it's like, if I lose money, it's tough for me. But when I have money, it propels me. And it's not all about money. I hate to talk about it, but I know like I have my confidence when there's money, and it will push me to go harder. As to where if there is a lack of money and it was a tough year, it's like, oh no, the world's going to end. And so I had that foundation. So what that did for my person, I was like, okay, I'm good. I can breathe. So I was not in fight or flight. I was like, okay, let me service this client. I basically sold 2 days a week to get that foundation to be to a starting salary of what I would do in my job. So like, okay, this is great. I was justifying it in my head. And then I looked for ways that I could grow the business. So I was trying to figure out what it meant to be a business owner, how I was going to get people. And so that was the first phase of kind of going all in. And then as we built the foundation, with that, kind of theory in mind, the next phase was needing to put good people around me. And, you start off with not so great people, and then you get some good people, and you hit a point to where you are spinning too many plates. And while you have people, they all rely on you. And then that's the moment we all just talked about. It's like this, like no one can ever do what I need to do. They don't know how to do it. I am doing too much. I don't have any time. Yes, I'm making some money, but I'm just trading time for money. And you get burnt out. And I told myself a lie that nobody could help me. Like, no one's going to know how to come into my business and get me caught up in invoicing. I'm 6 months behind. Nobody's going to know how to photograph a house. No one's going to know Bob, Cindy, or Carrie, and they're never going to like anyone else. And you get in this moment where you just feel sorry for yourself. And that is a 100% lie. And my wife, thankfully, has had so many saving moments where she's like, you just need to go find someone. I think someone can do it. And I'm like, no, they can't. No one's going to be able to do it. And she's like, okay. And she would go away. She knows me. Like, don't push me in those moments. She'd let me feel sorry for myself. And then she'd come back. She's like, hey, what do you think about this thing? And she would bump me enough. And I finally found someone. And that was Derek. Derek Mayer was with me for a very long time. And he helped me grow and scale. So that next phase was just getting out of my way of thinking I had to be the business and replacing myself with people who were excited to grow the business. So that was probably the first thing I learned. And then the third phase of really growing and scaling was bringing experts in around me, hiring people better than me, and then letting go of control. You know, it's the idea of, we all think as business owners, like, if we grasp tighter and we take more control, that we're going to be better. And we're just simply not. It's actually straining everybody, and you're stepping on everybody's toes. And everybody that you just hired is going like, well, why did you have to send that email? Like, wasn't that my job? Why are you doing my job? And understanding what it meant to actually empower the team was a huge learning lesson for me. And I had a lot of people, and I feel bad about this. I can think of some names that we lost over the years that transitioned on because I just wasn't a great boss. Not a mean boss, not an unhappy boss. I just didn't set clear expectations, and we didn't communicate well, and we didn't know what their goals were. We never asked them, are you happy? What's going well? What's not going well? What can I help? What are your 1, 3, 5-year goals? If you're here right now and this is the next step for you, what's in between here? Okay, so there's all different things you can ask, and I usually use those in a meeting when I sit with people. But I would never ask people. People aren't going to tell you because you're the owner, you're the boss. They're just simply not. You might have a D personality might tell you. You might be offended by it. But I didn't ever take it in, and I didn't ask the questions. And when I learned to start asking the questions and letting my team do it and empowering them, that's when it was like, oh my goodness, this is simple now. And I don't even hesitate. It's almost like, is this a knock on wood moment? No, it's not, because it's simple, because the team's empowered. They know what they know what their jobs are. Everybody knows how they work together. They know what portion I play. They know what portion Spiro plays. So it's over here. And everybody has an understanding. And when we don't, everybody knows that we need to get in a room, or the right people need to get in a room and communicate.
I was having trouble not just going the whole time you were talking. I was like, I'm
You
sure
guys
everybody,
break.
yeah, everybody's building a team that will resonate with a lot of that stuff, especially the part you said about nobody can help you.
Mm-hmm.
And that mindset you get into. It's so, I think it's hard. Probably, this is probably a thought error, but I think it is easy for photographers to fall into that trap because you somehow make your business different than every other business on earth because you use cameras. It's this weird thing that happens. It happened to me. It happens to, probably a lot of the people here that have gone on to build successful businesses that did scale. And so what Todd said about that, every time you feel that, you just have to push through and know that that's not true. Like, that's just not the case. One example I try to remember to myself, a lot of the lessons Todd teaches too, I'm sure the things he's telling himself, a lot of the things you learn from mistakes, and like your best pieces of advice or stuff you learn the hard way. So it's like you're teaching yourself at the same time. But if a neurosurgeon can be trained, like, I fully believe that everything in my business can be trained. Like, there's nothing that I'm not that level. Like, I'm not so smart that that something I do can't be trained. And so that's just like a good frame I think about. It's every role. Just some roles take longer than others. And what you said about having the right people is really important too. So if you are willing to put in the work to train somebody and you find the right people, like, your business will be unlocked by bringing people in. You'll get people that are frankly a lot better at what they do than you are at many hats too. Because you can't be good at 20 different things. Okay. Let's see. We have some questions in here. Let me find one that you can give your thoughts on, Todd. Yeah, this is an interesting question. So Sean said the Trinity Management that is typically forms for hugely successful brands usually includes 3 roles: the marketer, the product person, and the financial person. I guess, is that true for your business, and which are you?
Yeah, good question. So we've tried many different roles, and so what we have at WOW is we have a sales and marketing department, and that is led by one of my 2 leaders, Steve, and he is accountable for sales and marketing. And then he has a sales team and he has a marketing team. Okay, so the marketing team is 1 individual, and then the sales team is 4 additional individuals. And then we have a head of operations, Jess, and underneath operations, we have our customer support team. We call it scheduling support. There's different job descriptions, but it encompasses the day-to-day. And then we have a training department, onboarding department. So that's the product, that's the visuals of it. And I am ultimately accountable for the financials. My leaders do it. Jess and Steve, they both have access, and they are that we do it as a like they're accountable. Ultimately, I'm accountable for it. They do the work, and then we bring it together as a leadership team. So I, in the past, have had I've had a much larger staff, and I got to the point that I thought more people meant more, and it was great to grow. We bought a building, we remodeled a very large building, and then we filled it up, and then we built more offices inside the building and filled it up, and I thought I was going to add on. And it was fun. Like, there's a lot of people in the building, but it was way bloated for our business. And even at doing, $3 million is not that big of a business still. Like, you don't need a sales director, a marketing director, you don't need a CFO, and a head of support and a head of scheduling. Like, it's way too much. And so for us, that's what works for us. So I think sales and marketing, that's important. That's what's going to drive your business. Okay. That client acquisition, somebody needs to be thinking about that. Somebody needs to take care of the day-to-day. And then as you grow a large enough photography team, you need to make sure that your image out there of what you're producing is of the quality that it needs to be.
So I would imagine you've played different roles as you grow. Do you think you have a strength like in operations, in marketing and sales? Like, where would you say that your strength is?
Yeah, good question. So my strengths, so there's like 4 decision-making personality types. And so you have the visionary, and that's the person who thinks, what if, what's it going to be? And then you have the doer. So those are the people like, okay, just tell me something to do. I'm going to figure out, I'm going to try something, but I'm going to do it. And then you have the planner who wants to plan everything. And we're not going to do anything until we have an A, B, and C plan. And then you have the people who care about people. People are the most important. Let's take care of our people. Feelings matter. If the people are happy, then the business will grow. I can play. So I'm a strange individual. I can really play just about all of those. But I know that I need to play at WOW the doer, and they need the vision and the do. So I know Steve can create plans like none other, and then I'm going to go, oh, let's do this one and let's go. And Jess is fabulous with taking care of all the people. I love them too, but she's way better than me. But there's sometimes like, okay, the people are okay, Jess. We got to go. Like, let's do it. And we'll figure it out. Steve's got a B and a C plan that's fabulous. So why don't we just start doing this? And if it ends up great, perfect. If it doesn't, we'll learn from it. So you do have to be a little bit of a chameleon in your business. You have to understand some of those things, especially as you grow. I love to make plans too. Steve's just better at it than me. So I'm happy to go into the do mode with just saying, okay, let's pick one. Let's do it.
One of the big, apart from everything Todd just shared, one of the reasons that I love to have Todd on and do anything with Todd is if I would have seen someone like Todd when I was first starting my business, I would have thought a lot bigger. And so for the people here that are just starting, a lot of the stuff we talked about is when you scale your team, when you grow. For people just starting, think about how cool that is that there's people in a photography business that do hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in revenue. millions of dollars a year. Like Todd said, I mean, 3 million, 4 million, still a small business in the scheme of things, but it's a business that would seem impossibly big to me at the start. And I wish I knew existed, because it's just cool to know that that's possible. It kind of like expands your ceiling. I remember vividly thinking that $4,000 a month was like, we'd made it. And I thought that was like impossible for photographers. And so I just like you coming on to talk about this stuff, just knowing that it's like, there's so much more you can do. And it's just like any business. If you like treat the fundamentals well and you do the things required to grow it, it will grow. And if you plateau and you stop, it will stop. And so like one of the first things to being able to do the right stuff is just knowing that it's possible, in my mind. Okay, let's see. Do you have 15 more minutes with us, Todd, or how much?
I do. Yeah, I'm good to go. We have no
Cool.
practices tonight. I'm happy to be here.
Kenny, Rod, any questions you guys have for Todd right now?
Yeah, I had one. So obviously you mentioned you do about 50 shoots on average, 100 on a busy day. How have you been able to maintain all of those clients? Because what I've noticed is when somebody gets around, like, let's just say 10K a month, they stop doing client acquisition, and that's when they start being like, oh, my business has plateaued, like, how can I grow it? Or I've lost clients. Like, so how have you managed like the churn? Because obviously churn happens in every business. So yeah, that's my question.
Yeah, great question. This is a super important one, because we go in these modes of, like Kenny said, I'm really going to focus on it and I'm going to get it, but I have to service it. And then you forget that you need to take care of your current clients so you don't have churn, and you need to get more to grow. So what I did, we built a sales team, and that was, so the first, so Shannon, who I hired on years ago, I hired her on as a consultant because I knew she knew how to sell. She was the recruitment director at one of our large accounts, and we did a couple projects for her, some video projects, and she recruited about 100 agents a year to this company. So she was fabulous.
Wow.
Yeah, an incredible amount. So I called her. I'm like, hey, Shan, our team, our photographers are asking us if they can help sell our services. I don't know what to tell them. Can you build a program for me? And so we had lunch. We talked about it. She drew up a proposal for me. She knew exactly what to do. It was kind of my easy button. Now I got cold feet because I was like, oh, now I have to pay her. And I thought it was a huge amount of money at the time. She actually didn't charge me enough. So Shannon, you can't back bill me. Now you're on payroll again. So she'll try to, but I pushed through that, and she helped me understand where it could take me. And like I said, in those next years, it was like 60% growth, 57% growth, 65% growth. And that took us under a $500,000 up through $1.5 million. So that's how we do it. So Steve now is our director of sales and marketing. He has a sales team, and we know building relationships is the most important thing. So our team's out, they're calling, they're meeting with. We let our sales team nurture our clients and build relationships the way they want to. We start off, and I won't go too deep in this because it might not, this might not be relevant, but we start off by saying you need to make 30 calls a day and send this many emails and do this many Facebook messages. And that's just not the way I did sales wrong for a whole long time until I was like, I gave it to Shannon, and then Shannon gave it to Chris, and Chris gave it to Steve, and I let them direct it because they know what drives that. I just know that the relationship portion is the most important part, and we spend a lot of money on the sales team, and it is money well spent because we grow every year from it. So I guess to make that a little more to make that more applicable to everybody, I don't want you to go hire a director of sales. I don't want you to hire a sales team. The thing, if it's you and a photographer, or if it's just you, your goal should be to replace yourself being the technician of the photographer. And you need to continue to nurture that business, and you build those relationships. I did this for a very long time. So Shannon came in 2017. So I was already doing this for many years before Shannon came in. I continued to build relationships, but then I replaced myself with that because we scaled. So a good first step for you would be like, okay, where is my time most valuable? The Gary Keller book, The One Thing. Write it down if you haven't read it. It's a fabulous book. It's called The One Thing by Gary Keller. What's the one thing you can do to push your business along the furthest? And that is you staying the face right now. You'll replace yourself eventually. People don't even know me anymore. Nobody has any clue at WOW. They don't have any clue who I am. But they need to know you right now if it's just you. And they need to understand that you care about them. And they need to understand that you're going to take good photos, video for them, and that you want their business to grow through your marketing. So replace yourself and then continue on client acquisition.
Yeah, it's just a back burner thing that happens when people, like you said, they at the start, their business grows fast because they're marketing and selling. And then they become a technician shooting photos and they get so trapped in that they forget to market and sell. And so I like what you said. It's basically just do marketing and sales. Make that the thing you're doing, you're spending time on.
Okay. And the thing of going back to the photography, it's the thing we all enjoy, right? Why do we pick this darn profession anyways? Because we enjoy being behind a camera. So then you're going to grow you're going to grow a business and you're going to be like, okay, I got to go do the technician part. And you're going to enjoy that. Well, you just get out of just tell yourself at that. If you're doing this right now, tell yourself like, that's not what you need to be doing. Yeah. I'm telling you that that's not what you need to be doing. You got to get out of that role, find somebody, put someone in that role, and then you go back to building that business.
So for the last 10 minutes, I want to talk about Spiro. I'd love you to share it because I think it's the coolest thing. So we use Spiro at Norman & Young. Every single live, any chance I get, I talk about it. It's awesome software. Todd was kind enough to let us be a part of it with him and have some say in the direction and the features that come out. So we love Spiro. One of the really cool things to me is that Spiro started as a solution for your business, and then you realize other people would find it valuable. Is that right? Just talk about Spiro and I guess how it started and what it is now.
Yeah. So Spiro was always part of WOW. We never called it Spiro. We were actually very creative. We called it the database.
That's my favorite. I love that, by the way.
And so my major was computer science, and just naturally, I built the first database of managing our shoots and our workflow. And when I was in college, and then we used it, and then I hired someone to rebuild it. And we've always built software to run our business. Because again, going back to the beginning of the live, my goal was to do this as many times possible and then try to figure out how I can automate as much as possible. And so we had always built it, and it came about, it's probably been about 4 years now, that the old system was now two systems, two different developers, old framework, so a bad foundation, not a bad, but an aging foundation. And we decided to just build it all over again. And at that time, we had Craig Magrum, who's my co-host on the Spiro podcast. He was running his own little business just north of us, and he was using our system. And he's like, this thing's fabulous. And he scaled his business. And so we're like, we think we have something here. And so we rebuilt the platform. We built it so that all of you, anyone could sign up and use it. And you could have your own system, and it could do what it does for us, for you. So it's been great to build that and have you guys come in and see how we do it, but then also change it and mold it. It was great to have Eli and the team in and get some opinions. And this has been the most fun thing ever. It was fabulous. I remember when we began to write the check for it. Like we called it like that. I'll tell you, that was scary. That was a time like, when I called Shannon, I was like, Shannon, I can't do this. I'm like, oh, holy crap. Am I doing this? And it was an uncomfortable time because we bootstrapped it, or I bootstrapped it all. I mean, telling your wife like, hey, I'm just going to pull out all of the savings we've just done for the last 15 years. And I'm going to put it into this thing. She's like, okay. But that's Spiro, and Spiro.media is the website if you don't know about it. And you can find out more there.
If you run a real estate media business, you at least need to check it out. It's, in my opinion, the best out there when it comes to managing all of the functionality that you need from a system in one place. So I think everybody here is pretty familiar, but invoicing, photo delivery, scheduling, property websites, client management, there's just, it is an all-in-one system for your business. And I love the functionality. I love that it's built, initially, and it continues to be by people who own real estate media businesses, because it's developed from a place of like, we needed this feature because this is the issue we had. And so you'll notice that as you work with it, it's great. no base monthly fees, nothing like that. It's just a flat rate per project. And so get in there and set up your account, see if it's what you want for your business. And Todd and his team at Spiro are great for support and anything you need. So definitely check it out. I like, when you get to talk with Todd about his real estate media business, it makes you that much more excited about Spiro in my mind, because I'm like, I know this isn't just like, let's build the software. What should we build? Real estate media software. It's like, no, they built it for their business, which I think is awesome. I'll put the link in there for everybody asking. Spiro.media. We just doubled it. Me and Kenny both did. And by the way, I know we missed a lot of questions today because I wanted to, make the most of Todd's time with us. Aaron Polakaitis, who else is in here today? Isaac.
Yeah, Isaac.
Yeah, a couple people that are asking you questions. Those are people on my team, and they'd love to answer those questions for you. I'll put a link at the bottom where you can chat with them. If you didn't get your questions answered, just ask them. I mean, they're on my team. This is their thing. They work with people to answer initial questions, help you build a roadmap for your business, connect you to the right resources, whether it's YouTube videos that we made 6 months ago they think would be a good fit for you, workshops, coaching, different things. So make use of them if we didn't get your questions answered. Okay, so I want to do one more question for you, Todd. I don't know what that question is yet, though, so I want to make it a good one. So I'm skimming. Hopefully we can get an audience question here. This is a great one that ties in with Spiro, actually.
Yeah.
So, how important, I guess the question for you is, how important to you is measuring metrics in your business? And then if you could talk about like how those are done in Spiro, because this is like I can't believe I missed it. One of my favorite parts about Spiro.
Yeah. So I am a firm believer, and this is from a coach, and this is actually our largest client for a while taught me this. And we always make metric-driven decisions here because our emotions will stray us all over. Emotions are great to creativeness, like let's throw it all on the board. But when you're making a decision, you have to look at the metrics because your emotions will fool you. And fool you more than you think. So we look at metrics of everything. And so we built out a dashboard panel inside of Spiro that tracks all of the major metrics that you need. We feel as though you need to track. So what's your revenue year to date? What's your revenue this month? You can set goals. You'll compare it. It automatically compares it to periods of last year. Okay, so where am I at? Am I up? Am I down? Knowing is half of the battle. And where is that compared to what the goal is that I set? You track your average order value, an incredibly important thing. Something that Shannon taught me many years ago. She's like, she called it average sale price, ASP. I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, what is your average order? What's the value of it? It does it for you in there. It's going to track many other things. One thing that we love and we look at is market share. And market share is the percent of so it's the percent of all new listings basically that you photograph. So in your market, your entire city that you service, if there was 1,000 new listings that month and you shot 100 of them, you have a 10% market share. It's going to help you track that. So all of those metrics are at your fingertips. And I think in the question they asked about, it doesn't seem accurate. Please chat in with us. I can assure you it is accurate. There might be some dates that are off, and it might be that we just need to see where it's at, maybe the shoot date versus this. There's a lot of metrics in there. We're happy to go over them with you. The little pink chat bubble, we're there for you and explain it to you. I know for our business, and I look at this page all the time. This is one of the few pages that this is my day-to-day. I check the metrics, and then I just look at the on-site tracking page every day. That's basically like the air traffic control today. That's just more of an ego thing. I like to go and look like, oh, we're shooting 87 today, or we're shooting 62. I like to know how many we're shooting on each day. But the metrics I look at all the time, it helps us know the health of the business. It helps you anticipate. It helps you be proactive to things that you don't want to be reactive to.
100%. Metrics are so important. And there's just a lot of functionality for, like Todd said, average order value, some cool little metrics that really are helpful to know. And you guys just added a bunch, which was cool. I messaged you about that the other day, I think, when the new reports went live. So that was super cool.
Yeah.
Like Todd said, I mean, without data, you're really just flying blind. And it's very hard to grow a business when you're like, what should we do? I don't know. You can't know without numbers. So Todd, thank you for being here today. Your time is very much appreciated. And for everybody listening, we'll do a recap when Todd leaves about takeaways. But thank you so much, Todd. Much appreciated.
Hey, my pleasure.
See you in 39 days.
Yeah,
in
I'm
in Las
excited for it.
Vegas.
Get your tickets to Vegas.
We'll see you later, Todd. Appreciate it. Have a good night.